Hi, I'm Peter. Welcome back. Today's topic is when your Jira admin goes quiet. We've got 6 strategies to keep adoption moving for all you marketplace partners out there. How are you, Kate?
I'm great, thank you.
Good.
Let's talk adoption, as they say.
So it's a pretty familiar challenge. We've lived through this, right? Your Jira admin has a lot of work. They've always got a lot on their plates, or maybe they're just not responding, right? And since they're often your only named contact and sometimes the primary point of contact that you have, it can feel like adoption gets stuck. We've heard it before. We've talked about it in earlier videos. You only get these sort of generic email addresses, no names attached. But the truth is you can still keep your momentum going without adding to your Jira admin's workload. So let's go through those.
Well, I think the first one is the pretty obvious one is you package your insights. You don't ask them to do the work, you do the work for them. So I think that's a pretty obvious one. And it's kind of nice too, because once you package all of that up, you can kind of reuse it and reslice it. So you don't ask them to check usage, etc. You do it for them and you then go back to them.
And keep it simple, right? So simple snapshot. An example could be team alpha saved 10 hours last month using this feature. 4 other teams haven't onboarded yet. So give them a quick snapshot of who's using it, who's not, crystal clear, useful, and saves them, most importantly, I think, saves them from digging through any of their numbers, any of their data or spreadsheets.
I agree. And I think the other side tip is, and it's obvious, I know this, people, but I'm just reminding everyone anyway, the what's in it for them. So every communication should give a nugget of value, whether they can give it to their boss, it's a quick win, a risk adverse, risk alert, a benchmark, anything really, that as long as you frame it so they look good. You want to be their ally, not just any old vendor. And particularly now you've got thousands of apps for companies to choose from in the Atlassian marketplace.
It is a way to stand out. You said be the ally, make them the hero. Next up, second strategy we're going to talk about here is doing the comms work for them. So similar to what we just talked about, can you provide stuff to them? This is providing resources that they can actually just forward along themselves without any edits. Try to make it as easy as possible for them, right?
Well, I would say that, Pete, and this is probably your domain than mine, but some things that would come to mind is the one-page playbook, the copy-paste email, 90-second video. You do the comms for them and then play it, then they just hit forward. They'd probably be the main ones to be thinking about.
I think so. And just in practice, what we've found with these things is that I think one thing that happens is that people actually realize that this is possible, right? So like JAs realize that they can forward these things onto teammates, et cetera. Whether or not they actually use your template becomes irrelevant if they're actually taking that action. So just a little anecdote that we've seen this work really well, and people just kind of go, oh, I can actually communicate this to my team. So even if that's what you trigger, that's fantastic. Next strategy we've got in-app engagement. So how do you let your product carry itself or carry some of that load anyway, right? So what we're providing through Accoil right now, you can use your product data to flag flat adoption. You can trigger in-app nudges or walkthroughs based on how people are, or in some cases are not, using your key features or your product.
I agree. And, it's things like you set up your first workflow and you've got to be really careful and judicious on this because, in-app messaging can just be a bit overwhelming. But I think with the product usage and thinking about it logically, it allows you to help grow engagement without getting the admin involved. And so basically, you're using your product usage to get your direct signals, in my mind.
Yeah. So you're going around your admin, I suppose. Right. Number 4 we have for you today is engaging through indirect channels. So you don't have to wait for your admin to put his or her hand up or reply to your email. You can look for other signals.
That's right. And of course, I'm going to say everyone support channel, support tickets of gold, go back, mine them, look to see which users are invested. treat them like champions in waiting. I think you can probably
Hmm.
also keep your eye on the community posts as well. And if someone's from the company shows up, then at least you've got there's some visibility there. It helps to build trust where you can.
Yes, I learned that one from you, and I think we continue to talk about this. Is just go check your support tickets, and don't be afraid of opening up old support tickets if you're jumping back in there to be helpful. Right, that's like the critical thing there. Um, Other ways that you can go about finding these indirect channels, mine for reviews, or go look for reviews. If you do NPS surveys, I've got mixed feelings on NPS in general, but if you're doing NPS surveys, by all means, go have a look, see who is going beyond just like clicking a number, actually giving you some feedback. A happy user can often become a new advocate, and maybe that advocate that you feel like you're missing within these customer accounts.
I agree. And I think the other one is you multi-thread your approach. So, and we used to do this at Proforma. I'd say, has anyone spoken to such and such?
Mm.
And someone would. And I'd say, can you go back in? Because sometimes it's actually quite interesting. Just a different person with a different voice gets you somewhere. And
Mm.
so, with Simon being the product manager as well as the CEO, it was really good for me because I would go, I've the CEO, and Simon, getting Simon to write as from the CEO, I think is quite helpful. I think it's quite helpful. So you just find different routes into the organisation too, I think, so
Yeah.
that you sorry, phone call, find different routes into the organisation and different pathways, I think, so that you just keep the momentum going.
I think you touched on something there that I really like, and that's just leveraging a title. I think people like to talk to CEOs, founders, product owners. If you can get them involved and have that. Sometimes it's just that little title. It's like, ooh, the founder's reaching out, or this product owner wants to actually talk about this with me. And it's again going back to that, make them feel, not just make them feel, but actually do value their input. Uh,
Yeah.
I could ramble on that for a long time. I think kind of what that boils down to is like your own network, right? Are you leveraging the people on your team? Are you leveraging people outside of your company to reach into these accounts? Maybe you have mutual benefit into reaching out, or more people at the company more broadly. If you have an account team, loop them in, sales reps, loop them in, solutions engineers, anyone with established rapport at these customer accounts. It doesn't have to be you necessarily, but as we mentioned before, just a friendly check-in from a salesperson or the CEO often we find gets responses, and they can always coordinate it back to you as well, and
Well,
just kind
that's
of
right. I mean, that's the other thing you
bring it
would
back.
say is you do coordinate this. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, moving on. We've got number 5 here, and that is automate renewal and risk plays. So even without admin replies, you can act on account level signals. Again, this is here in Accoil. You can set alerts for drops in active users or narrowing feature usage. It's really important signals that we find there.
And I think, if you're really important customers, you can start to template some of these to be ROI insights and against their work objectives. So, if you've got a CS team, it's working with them to say what were their objectives for this quarter, and then actually using your data to really create something that's valuable, because then they just go back the other end and say, and we got here. Said we're
Mm,
going to do this, we got here. Yeah.
yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
I like that. I think that's an important step too. Yeah. Know what they're here for, right? They
Yeah.
bought us to do what?
Yeah.
Cool. And I think that's a good segue into number 6 out of 6 today. And that is to position yourself as an ally.
Yes. And
How do you
and you've
approach this,
always
Kate?
got to frame it this way, don't you reckon, Pete?
Mm,
Because it's things like, here's a snapshot for your leadership report. Would you like to run
mm,
us to run some quick training so you don't have to do it? So, I used to find that all the time, that the JAs would say, I'm too busy to fuss about this, Kate. And
mm.
I'd say, well, let me do that for you, because then you're going to get less queries down the track. So it
Yeah.
was not unusual for us to actually liaise with some end users, because it was in everyone's interest that we did that.
Yeah. I think so. I really like that approach too. And if you can use all of these things to like get that adoption growing without putting the burden on them to do it, right? If you can say to your admin, like, hey, you don't have to lift a finger, We're going to actually reduce your workload, not just stack stuff on you. That's how you're going to go from being just another vendor on a list to what everyone wants to be, that trusted partner. We're working together on this. We're not just flogging you a piece of software and then hoping that you're going to treat us nicely. It's getting in lockstep with them, seeing that value, making sure that you're in a partnership.
Momentum is the word, isn't it, Pete? So you just don't get a stall if the JA is overwhelmed or got lots to do or is indifferent to you. This is how you actually create interest in what you do.
Yeah.
Get that more up the front, really. But yes.
I think indifference is like the worst place to be, right? Take it or leave it.
Oh,
You know. All right. So what we're talking about today is how to basically work with your Jira admins, 6 strategies, package those insights up, equip them, the admins, with, what do we say, like forwardable resources, something that's easy for them to get, understand, and then pass on. Use in-app engagement to talk to your users directly. And of course, just keep your eye out for emerging champions, power users who you can start to communicate with. And that too helps lighten the load on those Jira admins. And remember, of course, all those side tips, you got to make them look good. Multi-thread, so it's not just one point of contact at every company. Use your network smartly. And if you do all of these things, it can go a long way. And I should say too that there are 6 things to do, but they all sort of interweave here. So it's totally doable.
Absolutely. You just don't have to do it for everyone, but you kind of pick your marks and be shrewd about it.
All right, that's us for this week, everybody. Thanks so much for tuning in again. Kate, always a pleasure. Thanks for watching, everybody.